The last 24 hours have been absolutely wild for the conservative movement in America. To help us break down what the Americans are actually feeling, I have the pleasure of interviewing Nigel Farage, who just came out back from America, Texas, at CPAC, to break down exactly what was going on, what the sentiment was, and perhaps where the conservative movement will be going over there. Nigel, thank you, and welcome to the show.
Well, it's a pleasure. And I've spoken at many turning point events in America. I've spoken at turning point events in the UK. And I'm very much looking forward to coming to Australia to speak at 3 turning point events. And I think it's very, very important that particularly young people have somewhere they can go, given just how poisonous, frankly, our universities are to anyone who's not a Marxist. So I just wanted to say that before we kick off. Yeah, I was over at CPAC Dallas. What are the takeouts? Well, it really is Donald Trump's Republican Party, be in no doubt. His approval rating within the party is higher even than the great Ronald Reagan's was at the height of his power. And you'll notice that on the Tuesday before CPAC, there were a series of primaries that took place across the USA in key states like Michigan, Arizona, and every single one, and I mean every single one, of the candidates that Trump gave endorsements to won. And that tells you one hell of a lot. He himself is very much talking about a message that 2 years ago we were energy independent. Now we're going to Saudi Arabia and Venezuela begging for oil. What the hell are we doing? But his big focus is on the complete breakdown of law and order in many of America's cities. I'm in Chicago. I was a commodity trader and broker for 20 years. I mean, Chicago to me was a spiritual home. It was the all-American city. My friends who live there don't go out at night. I mean, some weekends there are over 50 shootings taking place in Chicago. In Los Angeles, the sheer level of homelessness, of vagrancy, is of a level that is seeing people flee. Los Angeles, San Francisco, one of the most beautiful cities in the world, is now just full of needles and drug users. 100,000 people died of opioid deaths in America last year. And of course, because of our magnificent friends in Black Lives Matter, we've actually seen police forces being defunded at a time when homicides are up 30% in less than 18 months. And so the Trump message is America must save its cities. So it's a very, very tough, very strong law and order policy. It reminds me a little bit of the famous Rudy Giuliani, who took over as mayor of New York when it was a very dangerous city. And by the end of his time there, it was safer than London. So it goes to show that if you've got the will, you can do that. So Trump dominant, I would put it 70-30 that he is going to run again. So all of that was good. And people very upbeat, very optimistic about the midterms and on. And then just this extraordinary FBI raid on Donald Trump's home at Mar-a-Lago. 2 things to say about that. Firstly, this was approved by the Attorney General in America. So this pretense now from the White House that Joe Biden knew nothing about it just does not stand up. They're lying about it. And that's because there are now Democrats, senior Democrats, saying, what the hell are we doing? The judge that allowed the search warrant, it turns out, used to be Jeffrey Epstein's lawyer. Well, we don't necessarily hold that against him, but it's interesting. But was also a declared donor to Obama. And the whole thing is an outrage. Number one, there wasn't some attempted coup on January the 6th with some manuscript that was written. And even if there was, the last place Donald Trump would keep it is on his coffee table in his private apartment at Mar-a-Lago. I mean, the whole thing beggars belief, but it shows a level of desperation. You've got Biden's approval rating plummeting to pretty much the lowest any president has had for over 80 years. His vice president, well, her poll ratings are even lower. I mean, they're so desperate, they're even talking about Hillary Clinton coming back to lead the Democrat Party. And they can see Trump is strong. They fear the law and order message. They know their own party is riven because they've got a sort of Corbyn-like wing within the Democrats, this hard left led by AOC. And then you've got the more moderate, sensible more patriotic Democrats, but it is a party now with very mixed messages. And this is a political act. It is astonishing. It is disgusting. And I genuinely think this is going to backfire on them in a very big way.
It certainly seems as though the conservative forces in America are consolidating around Trump after this. Any doubters before have seemingly gotten behind Trump. Even Andrew Cuomo, as well as former presidential candidate for the Democrats, Andrew Yang, also have backed him as well on this and saying, what is this that we're going after former presidents now? This is ridiculous. So more information to come out about that. We don't know if this is just a slight paper error, but I don't think it warranted a raid. But moving on to your speech at CPAC, Texas, you mentioned that the West is forgetting itself, and you alluded to some of the ways that America is. Well, this news just yesterday out of the UK that we could be seeing a situation where there are some rolling blackouts in the UK from Bloomberg. I mean, Nigel, what's the go with this?
I mean, I've been warning about this for over a decade. We have decided that to save the world, we're going to build lots and lots of wind turbines on England's green and pleasant land and on our beautiful seascapes. The slight problem is that when the wind doesn't blow, and by the way, we've got the biggest summer high pressure system over the United Kingdom right now that we've had since 1976. Guess what happens when the wind doesn't blow? There's no electricity generation. So you have to back it up with things like gas, but we don't produce our own gas. No, because that would emit too much carbon dioxide. No, we import it from Qatar and from Norway. And last Wednesday, we were so short of electricity, we actually bought it from Belgium via an undersea interconnector. And we paid a price that was 5,000% more than the prevailing market price for electricity. It's all well and good wanting to go green, but you've got to do it sensibly. You've got to do it in a way that puts national security first. And the thought in a developed country, the fifth biggest economy in the world, that the lights could go out this winter just shows you the absolute failure of liberal left politics, which has been mirrored by a conservative party under Boris Johnson, particularly under Boris Johnson, that was elected as they were elected as conservatives and they governed as green liberals. It shows you the complete insanity of this situation.
Absolutely. And we're seeing a situation where there is going to be a leadership competition in the Conservative Party where they're going to have the opportunity to redefine what they actually stand for. So you've got a situation where you've got Liz Truss on the left and Rishi Sunak, the former treasurer, on the right. And one of the big problems that you've said they're going to have to challenge is the situation of immigration. And this Albanian immigration issue, I mean, coming from a Syrian Australian, you guys have got to get those borders tight. I mean, you're not a nation if you're not enforcing your borders.
Well,
how are you going to do this?
What was Brexit all about? What was Brexit all about? It was about taking back control of our own country, our own destiny, and in particular, our borders. And this followed the huge mistakes the European Union made in 2015, where they said anyone that comes across the Mediterranean, sets foot on EU soil can stay. And Mrs. Merkel saying, "Oh, come all ye faithful, as many as want to come can come." And we were told, well, Nigel, don't criticize this, for goodness sake. These are all poor, desperate people fleeing the barbarities that are going on in Syria. Well, it turns out fewer than 20% actually came from Syria. And if you look at what's coming into Britain, it's 91% men. 91% men. 70% of them very, very young men. I mean, if where they're coming from is so ghastly, why are they leaving all the women and children behind? We've learned in the last few days that actually 40% of those that are coming are from Albania. Albania is a NATO country. Albania is a prospective EU member. Albania is a holiday destination for lots of British people who are happy to go there. This is illegal immigration, and it's linked to the growth in virtually every high street in England of a so-called Turkish barbershop. They're not. They're Albanian barbershops. The car washes are now all run by Albanians. The Metropolitan Police will confirm that the drugs and prostitution rings that are being run in London have been taken over by the Albanians. Literally, these are criminals coming into this country, getting involved in unpleasant activities. The money is then being laundered through all these front businesses and sent back to Albania. And it is making people mad. We're spending £5 million a day on hotel rooms for those that have illegally crossed the English Channel. And I can tell you something, this Conservative government would not have had a majority without me. Boris Johnson wouldn't have even been Prime Minister without me. You know, it was in 2019 with the Brexit Party that I humiliated the Conservatives in the European election to their worst result in over 200 years. Yes. I forced May out of power.
You did.
And Johnson gave people the impression that we would really get back control of our borders. We haven't. And if the Conservative Party doesn't sort this out, I mean, we've got energy, we've got cost of living, we've got tax, there's so many other issues, but this issue alone will cost the Conservatives the next election. So I'm warning them. I'm raising the issue through British media. I've pushed this relentlessly for the last 2 years. And of course, Australia is the model. You know, Tony Abbott, 2012, a similar problem was happening to Australia. It was coming, of course, from Indonesia. Larger boats, larger distances, but all the same principles. The Aussies sorted it out. Well, if you can do it, I'm certain we can too. The Conservatives need to get real.
Absolutely. Guys, I can't wait to have a beer with Nigel Farage when he comes out to Australia. If you're eager to hear a lot more from him, please be sure to book tickets at nigellive.com.au. There's a number of things I'd love to pick Nigel's brain on in the coming weeks, and more importantly, when he's here in Australia. Do not miss out. Tickets are going very fast. And Nigel, I want to thank you so much for making time to come on the show.
Well, absolutely. And, you know, I'll be there and I'll be giving a talk. On my 25 years involved in international politics, what I've learned about conservative movements, namely that when they stop being conservative, they lose elections, because whatever the buzz in our capital cities, you know, there is still a majority for common sense out there. The referendum in Britain, the 2019 Conservative victory, is perhaps proving that in many, many ways. There'll be a chance for the audience through a microphone to ask questions, and that'll be a pretty unfiltered process, and that can be quite entertaining and quite lively. but there'll also be opportunities for after parties, drinks, chances to meet, photographs. One of the things about politics that I adore, I love people, I love meeting people. I'm quite a socializer too. So I'm looking forward very much indeed to coming to Australia again, to doing this tour. I'm very pleased, I must say, to be working with Turning Point.
Look, it's a pleasure to have you, and I can't wait to see you here. Thanks so much, Nigel.
Thank you.